Hi, thanks for tuning to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor. There has been a lot of, I haven't posted in a while. There's been a lot of things going on in my life, and thanks for waiting. For some people, they said that this is their favorite channel. I appreciate all of you. They're doing some research into things. I just wanted to let people know that the Earth's in real danger. We have something in 1946 to 1993, 13 governments of the world, they had an accord together to actually dump into the oceans toxic waste and nuclear waste. So most of this would put into metal containers, and they were literally just dumped into the ocean. The reason I'm mentioning it now is I've been getting information that these metal containers are going to be rusting through very shortly if we don't act now. How many metal containers, you might ask, of nuclear waste are there resting on the bottom of the ocean, and not even in deep parts for a lot of it? 137,000 tons of nuclear waste. This will pale in comparison to Fukushima. Now, what could happen? Basically, all Earth, all life on the Earth as we know it could perish. If the oceans of the Earth, if all life died out from oceans of the Earth, that would lead the rest of us everywhere to die. Some people don't think that, but actually scientifically they've run a lot of different scenarios, and we're all connected. This biosphere and this biogenetic diversity on the planet, we're all connected, and we would perish. So I thought to mention that small thing first, right? So I've made a couple of posts about that. And not a lot of people see my posts on Facebook, although when I say not a lot of people, I was getting at one point some of my posts 10,000 shares. So I think sometimes people are paying attention to what I'm saying. I did another. There's a chemical in the. I did another post about chemtrails. So chemtrails are what's going on. What's chemtrails? I don't believe in chemtrails. Yada yada yada. Conspiracy. That's what you always hear. I'd like to see a conspiracy that actually wasn't true. That'd be interesting. So what happens is there's an advanced secret warfare, secret classified. There's a advanced warfare technique, I guess you could call it. VITREP. What they could do is they actually in some of the in chemtrails, they put nanoparticles in those nanoparticles. I believe one of it's called barium would actually be in the atmosphere, and it floats around, right? So when you drop it, it floats around, stays up there for a while. It doesn't just fall right to Earth. Air currents and whatnot. It's very light substance. And what happens is when you send a HARP signal through it, it bounces, it gives an echo kind of back. And what you do is you get a 3D rendering of the terrain. So the fog of war is lifted, and then you can see from ground to all the way up, 40 miles or whatnot. So you're getting a 3D real time a picture. When you see all these chemtrails everywhere, a lot of people think that it's to repel light, back away. Sure, maybe that's something that could happen, but It's basically so Big Brother Watchful Eye can actually see you wherever you go, and see it can actually help to cloak or uncloak aircraft or what have you. So alien craft, perhaps non-alien craft, can be cloaked, which would help a military to have an advantage. So that's why it's classified. But why would they actually do chemtrails all the time? Well, one theory, is it a theory though, is that with alien incursions into our atmosphere, we could actually track these things in real time if we have the ability to do 3D terrain mapping in real time for autonomous aircraft coming to airspaces around the planet. So in order for this to work, there has to be a secret treaty between all the countries of the world, or the ones that are a part of it. Now, some of these countries, they all have to keep their silence. So when I post a post about these things, on the web, I get attacked. So when I get attacked, it's by a group, and they try to, discredit me, which is understandable. After all, it's a clandestine operation, and if the governments of the world were held accountable for all these deaths through, people having cancer of the lungs for all these years, why, that would just, be anarchy on a large scale, number one. And number two, that would, why would they do it? And they'd say, okay, we're doing it because we're tracking aliens. That would topple the apple cart for a lot of reasons. So there's a lot of making people silent. So I was gang stalked when I posted this, and they asked me for my source for all this, and they keep asking, and they try to say, I do distance healing, spiritual teaching. They say, hey, this guy's a distance healer, but he does accept, I do it for free, but he does accept donations. So he's selling snake oil, and they gang stalk me, and at least 15, I think, maybe more, were saying things to me. A little bothersome, but I understand they're trying to keep it, on the down low. Now, I wasn't going to say really anything. I just did one post. I wasn't going to go after them back or make a video about this. It wasn't even on my mind. But, you kind of go fishing, and you throw, chum in the water. And when all the fish start biting at it like that, like crazy, you go, gee, maybe there is some validity to the knowledge that I was imparted to. So I thought to make a video about it. So you kind of stepped on your own foot, right? Those guys should just let it go by instead of attacking me, which is, stupid on their part. Never underestimate a truther, right? So this is videos in part to talk about that the governments of the world have in place this, polluting of the atmosphere constantly, so they could lift the fog of war, and they do and they could do a VITREP, which is just so you could see everything in the real time, 3D. They're getting people now to take this chip, in where was that, Denmark? They have 1,000 people already, and more certainly are going to sign on to do, a chip. Guys, they don't really need you to take the chip. That's just, icing on the cake. They could actually track you wherever you go. When these chemtrails are in the air, they know where you are. They can get a 3D rendering in real time, like, and be a million miles away. So they can have like all this. You don't have to turn on your location services on your phone for them to know exactly where you are with this kind of technology. And this, I'm talking about this. This was an old post. I knew about this, years ago. I don't go out on my, to dump classified information. I don't get off on it. I'm not looking to, hurt any governments by saying that, to dump other classified information. I'm not a WikiLeaks. That's not what I'm about. I'm a truther. So when, attacked, I might just attack back. If you leave me alone, I won't say anything. I'm not going out of my way to, say certain things. But when time of the video was just 11:11 a second ago, so I looked up and saw that. So when we have these kind of synchronicities, I feel like it, means that you're on the right track. I wasn't looking at the time. All of a sudden, it was 11:11, and boom, it was just, I was there. So, and they kept, they'll keep coming after me and saying, "Hey, what's your source? What's your source?" Isn't that interesting? So, the thing about these things, they saw online that actually I'm in, New York City, that I listed in my bio, and then it could be, not a fact, but I have a theory. It could be that this group, connected to another country, saw that I was releasing, this information, thinking that it was connected to a certain other group, and so in retaliation, they turned off the lights, and they did a cyber attack with someone internal with a USB, put a cyber attack on Con Ed, and it put out the lights of Manhattan, I think to send a message. Now, that's a theory, but that is an act of war. So that just goes to show you how deep the deep state is to cover their tracks and send a warning. So they were out to send a warning, is a theory, to not dump information about VidTrip, which is, again, the now about that. Now, the group that was attacking me, one of the members mentioned they were, and all this is, could be bullshit. They said they were with Illuminati / Monsanto division. So, looking them up, Monsanto actually does have a division that was purchased. They were purchased. There was a purchase going on that a group that was named Illuminati purchased Monsanto. Now, Monsanto then went and purchased Blackwater. So they went and hired Blackwater, not purchased them, but hired them. And Blackwater is a group of mercenaries that I've met some of them personally, and the ones that I met and knew, great guys. I got along with them well. So I have no problem with Blackwater. The guys I thought respected me, I respected them. Everybody's cool. but their new name is Academy with an I at the end. Familiar. They are an arm of Monsanto now that does counter surveillance, and what they're doing is they go out and disinfo, and basically what they're purported to just go ahead and say things about, to discredit people, which they were doing with me, to discredit people who bring up things that are counter to what they're about. So what is Monsanto about? They own 95% of all the seeds, and they do a lot of genetic modifying. Some people say that there are Luciferian Satanists that are all about taking out, basically making mankind sterile with all these GMOs, so they're going to get to the 500,000 limit for people on the earth. So basically anything that kills people in this way is a good thing. Now, I'm not saying the Blackwater is all in on that. They're hired for certain things, and that's what they do, and they do it very well. So, but there are certain groups within certain things. You pay these guys a little bit of money, and they go out and do what you want to do. So, hire a bunch of people to, do gang stalking against somebody talking about chemtrails. Now, what would chemtrails have to do with Monsanto? Well, from a Luciferian point of view, chemtrails would obviously be part of, a world dominion way to have global dominance, because you could see with a 3D rendering map everywhere, number one. Number two, and this, added benefit would be to kill people because of their breathing in these nanoparticles. So everybody's on board with that for the most part. And the other thing is that the people who are involved, with it, it's compartmentalized. A lot of them might not know that it's actually true. They might say, just attack anybody talking about these things. And they say, okay. Not knowing that it's all, again, only the higher levels need to know it's actually killing people, and that's the agenda. And then Bill and Melinda Gates are tied to, that as well. Now, back all this up and say that this is, what logically it all comes, out. I've had dealings with a lot of people with Luciferians who, when I say dealings, I do healing. So I help heal people who were attacked from Luciferians in these satanic groups. And, being when I help them, sometimes I find out, how these kind of things work and operate. So I understand, gang stalking and all that. The thing is, with the truth community, either you tell the truth or you don't tell the truth. So I tell the truth as I see it. There's a lot of, things that are going on in the world. One of the things is that, we're saying, gee, whale died and it was full of plastic and it, washed up on the shore. So that's certainly horrible. The bees are dying. So if all the bees died, Einstein says that everyone would die. If we don't collect 130,000 tons of nuclear waste in the oceans of the world, obviously we're going to die. I don't think there's a question. Could it be diluted and then people don't die? I hope so. Is there more of a chance that we would all die? And pretty rapidly. And it wouldn't be people, I don't think in underground facilities really understand that when the radiation does get out, radiation really goes everywhere, and it can go through a lot of things, and it doesn't have to be. You ever hear something called a dirty bomb? Well, when it gets into all the animals and all the trees and everything everywhere, it's going to be, everywhere for, 10,000, 20,000 years. Do they have underground? Can people live underground in those facilities miles down for 20,000 years? I don't think that sounds like a viable solution. If they can, what would mankind look when they're finished? So, and I don't think they're going to get to 500,000. I think it's going to get to zero. So that plan's kind of backfired for, everyone. So now all the things I've been talking about for the last 21 and 16 minutes, small fry stuff. I'm not talking about the big fry stuff. And then when I say big fry, so small fry, I'm talking about, higher, information. I was going to talk about higher information, higher vibrational information. This is lower vibrational stuff. Believe it or not, almost not worth my time and your time for paying attention, because a lot of this is hearsay, conjecture. Do we have hard evidence? A lot of it, projections. But what I was going to talk about more is the Mandela effect, and the answers that I came up with that I think are even more important and more valid than anything I've said so far, and make all these other things really small in comparison. So that is the big news. That is really, really the most amazing thing ever. So that's been going on. And before I didn't know what it was, slowly been digging. Now I know, for a fact where it's coming from. So I've been, holding that in. I think it's going to come out of me soon, where I'm going to be giving the answer out on my channel about what the Mandela effect, where it's coming from. And it's surprising. I think the governments of the world have taken a interest in it. That's the reason they closed CERN down, is because they were concerned about CERN. Until they could do more tests, they closed down one of the main particle accelerators, CERN. Although China's coming out with a bigger particle accelerator, of course. China always has to outdo everybody else, right? And they're spending too much money on it. And that could be concerning as well. But I thought I'd make this information public. And again, this is just me talking. You could say, gee, this guy's a crazy guy. Look at all the stuff he's saying. But, it leads one thing leads to another, leads to another. So that's how these kind of things, happen. Am I going to tell you what the Mandela effect is right now? I could. Let's see what you say about this video. Let's see. See what you say. See who's behind me, who's against me. The people who are against me, tons of people against me. Are you going to like finding out what the Mandela effect's about? Or is that going to be good? Good question. I don't think a lot of people would like the answer. I think a lot of people have been dying to hear the answer. I think for a lot of people it's going to be great news, and for a lot of people it's bad news. So I don't think there's any middle ground. Either you're in or you're out, as it were. So I'm going to leave it as vague as that because it makes it fun. But don't worry, it'll all work out in the end. God has a plan for everything. And if you don't believe that, you're in trouble. There's basically everybody wants to be close to God. Even if people don't believe in God, want to be close to God. At a microscopic level, I believe that everybody wants to be close to God. And the people who feel like they're on the outside and not get so angry and so hateful, and they're filled with anger and they can't turn back to God because they feel like that's in the way, and they end up being so evil and so mean and so and lower vibration, and it's just horrible. And just dealing with these people for the last week, and seeing what they're about, it's just so not disheartening for me, but I feel so bad, and I thought to take one of them and do a healing, and and of course they attacked me for that, but praying for your enemies, I don't think is a bad idea sometimes. So, and I do distance healing, but they attacked me. Oof, that's crazy how you attack people for that. Well, what they're trying to do is, if they find out I got any donation from anybody ever, which again, 99% of all the distance healing, everything I do is free. If somebody wants to give me money, I sometimes say, no, don't. I actually tell people not to give me money. I know that sounds crazy. I said, no, keep it. That happens quite often. When people insist, then yeah, I have it that you can donate. And if I do have excess money, which I used to, then I would donate it to charity. So I don't feel like I have to justify anything. There's a lot of people that do it for a living, and there's no lie in me. I'm telling the truth. So, they call me all these names, trying to discredit me, which is, I just not used to that anymore. I'm used to everybody on a higher level, and when you get this lower demonic level going on, it's kind of like, whoa, I forgot. Like I was healing this woman who was so many horrible things. She was oh my gosh, just the worst things. She was brought in a youngster, her family in the cult, and satanic cult, and the most horrific things. But she's in a good place now and got out of everything. And you know who you are. I don't mention names, and I keep everybody's information private. I try to keep everything private. I don't like to, go on the web and say, hey, this happened. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a WikiLeaks. You leave me alone, I don't say anything. You constantly attack me, hey, I'll poke back a little bit. If you attack New York City and do an act of war against my country, I'm going to make a video. It's not cool. The deep state attacking, my country, not cool. I'm not into that. So, not really cool. And that's who I believe the deep state did it to, get back at this information being released. Now, you could think it's something else, and they could, a million people could come up to me and say, I'm wrong. Fine, you know, and that's the way it is. But I'm just not really into, I'm not into divulging, or getting countries in trouble or anything like that. And maybe there is a valid reason, that we need these kind of technologies, to, if there are aliens attacking, we need to scan them and know. So, but I think people are mature enough that you can actually divulge that information so they keep it all. And what happens is you get these, ruffians, and it's a whole other nasty, level that you don't want to get involved in. But these satanic kind of agenda is just kind of boring, you know. Move on with it, find something else, get right with God, give up. That's what I say. Anyway, thanks a lot. Like, subscribe, share. If you don't want to like this, if you want to give a thumbs down, you can. It doesn't bother me. This is not a monetized channel. I'm not getting anything from anybody for anything I do. No one's sending me money, okay? No one sent me $1 for any video I've done. No one's doing anything. No one's giving me money. So, you can't put me down and saying, oh, this guy's benefiting. What did I get? I got nothing. I got attacked. That's what I get. So, joke's on you. So I put myself out there. I put my face out there. I do this and, tell the truth. It's part of who I am. Truther. So, again, like, subscribe, share. Thanks a lot. Peace.